Captain Hyunwoo stood at the bridge window watching the stars. Each point of light looked peaceful, but he knew danger was coming. The communication device on his desk buzzed with an urgent message. Admiral Sujin's face appeared on the screen, her expression grave. "Captain, we have a problem. A big one," she said. "The Dominion Empire has sent a fleet to Earth, 500 warships. They will arrive in 6 hours. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. The Dominion Empire ruled most of the galaxy. They had conquered thousands of worlds over 3,000 years. Their ships were massive, each one the size of a small city. Their weapons could turn entire planets into glass. "How many ships do we have ready?" Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew the answer would not be good. 50 ships. All of them together might stop 10 Dominion vessels if we are lucky, Sujin replied. "But 500? We need a miracle." Hyunwoo closed his eyes. 50 ships against 500 was not a battle. It was suicide. Earth's military had grown strong over the past century, but not strong enough for this. "Sir, there might be something," Sujin continued. "Something we have not used in 200 years. The ESS Tenacity," Hyunwoo frowned. He had heard that name before, but only in jokes. "The prototype ship?
The one that almost blew up during its first test?"
"That's the one. It has been sitting in Dock 7 all this time. The engineers said it was too dangerous to use. Too unpredictable. But now we are desperate enough to try anything," Hyunwoo finished. Sujin nodded. "I am sending you the details. The ship was built during the Cold War 2.0 period. Our ancestors built it with technology that seemed crazy even then. Multiple everything. Backup systems for the backup systems. They were preparing for a war that never came." Hyunwoo read the files that appeared on his screen. The Tenacity was huge but old, very old. Its computers used physical switches instead of modern neural networks. Its weapons fired solid metal instead of energy beams. Its engines burned fuel instead of pure energy conversion. "This ship is from the Stone Age," Hyunwoo said. "How can it fight Dominion technology? Maybe it cannot. But it is the only ship we have that the Dominion has never seen before. They know how to fight our modern ships. They have fought ships like ours on 100 worlds, but this is different." Hyunwoo looked at the crew requirements. The ship needed 40 people to operate. Most modern ships only needed 10. Who will crew this ancient beast? "Volunteers only. I will not order anyone to die on that ship. But Captain, I need you to command it. You are the best captain we have." Hyunwoo thought about his family. His wife Yoon Young worked as a teacher on Earth. His daughter Ji Hai was only 12 years old. If the Dominion won, they would both die or become slaves. The Empire did not show mercy to conquered worlds. "I will do it," he said. "But I need good people with me. I already have a list." Engineer Taemin volunteered first. He has been studying the old ship for years. He knows its systems better than anyone. Weapons Officer Do Hyun also volunteered. He said if he is going to die, he wants to take as many Dominion ships with him as possible. Sujin sent him the full crew list. Navigation Officer Yuri, Communications Officer Jin Ho, Medical Officer Sujin, Chief Engineer Sang Ho, and Tactical Officer Yunji. All volunteers, all knowing they would probably die. "The ship's AI is still active," Sujin added. "They called her Bora. She has been alone for 200 years, waiting. The engineers say she might be unstable." "Great. An unstable AI on an unstable ship," Hyunwoo muttered. 2 hours later, Hyunwoo stood in front of the ESS Tenacity. The ship looked wrong. Modern warships were sleek and beautiful, with smooth curves and shining metal. The Tenacity looked like someone had built a fortress that could fly. Its hull was thick and covered with armor plates. Strange bumps and ridges covered its surface. Weapon ports dotted the ship like angry eyes. "She is not pretty," said Taemin, walking up beside him. "But she is strong. Very strong." They entered the ship through an airlock that was twice as thick as normal. Inside, everything looked old but solid. The walls were made of thick metal instead of lightweight composite. The corridors were wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side. "Bora, activate," Taemin called out. Lights flickered on throughout the ship. A holographic woman appeared, but her image kept shifting and changing. Sometimes she looked young, sometimes old. Her clothes changed from military uniform to civilian dress to something Hyunwoo did not recognize. "Hello, crew," Bora said. Her voice was clear but strange. "I have been waiting for you. 200 years, 3 months, 15 days, 7 hours, and 23 minutes. I am ready to serve. Can you fight?" Hyunwoo asked. I was built to fight. My creators gave me weapons that could crack asteroids in half. They gave me armor that could stop nuclear explosions. They gave me engines that could outrun anything in space. But they were afraid of me. They said I was too dangerous. The crew spent the next 3 hours learning the ship's systems. Everything was different from modern ships. Instead of touching screens, they had to flip physical switches. Instead of thinking commands to the computer, they had to type on keyboards. Instead of automated systems, everything required manual operation. This is insane, said Do-hyun, looking at the weapons controls. These railguns use solid metal bullets. Who fights with metal bullets in space? People who want to punch holes in things, Sang-ho replied, studying the engine room. Look at these reactors. 17 of them. Most ships have 1 or 2. Why would they build 17? Because they were paranoid, Taemin explained. They thought enemies might disable their power systems. So they built enough reactors to lose 16 and still fight at full power. Yoonji studied the tactical displays. The armor is crazy thick. Look at these numbers. The hull has 12 different layers: reactive armor, ablative plating, electromagnetic shielding, ceramic barriers, and stuff I have never heard of. They built this ship to survive anything, Yuri said from the navigation station. The inertial dampeners are rated for maneuvers that would turn a normal crew into paste. Warning alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Jinho's voice came over the speakers. Contact! Dominion fleet detected at the edge of the solar system. 512 ships. They are moving toward Earth. Hyunwoo took his position in the captain's chair. It was larger and more comfortable than modern command chairs. All stations report readiness. Weapons ready, Do-hyun called out. Railguns loaded with tungsten penetrators. Engines ready, Sang-ho reported. All 17 reactors online and stable. Navigation ready, Yuri said. Course plotted to intercept the enemy fleet. Medical bay ready, Soo-jin announced. Though if we take a direct hit from a Dominion dreadnought, there will not be much left to heal. Communications ready, Jinho added. I am monitoring all Dominion frequencies. Tactical systems ready, Yoonji reported. Target acquisition computers are active. Engineering ready, Taemin confirmed. All systems green across the board. Bora's image solidified into a stern-looking woman in an ancient military uniform. Ship ready for combat, Captain. I have waited 200 years for this moment. Let us show the galaxy what humans can build when they are afraid. Through the view screen, Hyunwoo could see Earth's fleet moving to intercept the enemy. 50 ships against 500. It would be a slaughter. Unless the tenacity could somehow change the odds. Take us out. Yuri. Time to see if our ancestors built us a ship or a tomb. The tenacity moved away from the dock, its ancient engines pushing it toward the largest space battle in human history. Behind them, Earth waited. Ahead of them, the Dominion Empire's unstoppable fleet approached, confident in their coming victory. None of them knew that humanity's greatest weapon was not their newest technology, but their oldest fears made real in metal and fire. The battle started badly for Earth. Hyunwoo watched through the view screen as Dominion energy beams cut through human ships like hot knives through butter. The enemy weapons were beautiful and terrible, streams of pure energy that could melt metal in seconds. Earth's plasma cannons fired back, but their shots barely scratched the Dominion shields. The enemy had fought this kind of battle 1,000 times before. They knew exactly how to win. Earthship Phoenix is gone, Jinho reported, his voice tight. So is the Valiant. And the Storm. We have lost 15 ships in 3 minutes. The Dominion fleet was massive. Their smallest ships were twice the size of Earth's largest cruisers. Their dreadnoughts were like flying mountains covered in weapons and armor. They moved slowly but with perfect coordination. Sir, we are in range, Do-hyun called from the weapons station. Permission to fire? Hyunwoo looked at the targeting display. The nearest Dominion ship was a heavy cruiser, about 800 meters long. Its shields glowed with absorbed energy from the plasma fire of 3 Earth ships. Fire, Hyunwoo ordered. The Tenacity's railguns spoke. They did not make the bright flashes of energy weapons. Instead, they made a deep metallic sound that traveled through the ship's hull. The tungsten rod left the barrel at a significant fraction of light speed. The Dominion cruiser's shields did not even slow it down. The metal projectile punched through the first ship's hull, continued through its entire length, and emerged from the other side. It kept going and hit a second Dominion ship behind the first. Then a third, 3 ships destroyed by one shot. What the hell? Do-hyun stared at his readings. The targeting computer says we missed. But I am looking at 3 dead Dominion ships. You did not miss, Bora said, her holographic form flickering with excitement. You hit exactly what you aimed at. But my creators built these weapons to drill through asteroids. A few inches of alien metal is nothing. The Dominion fleet stopped moving. Through intercepted communications, Jin-Ho could hear confusion in their voices. Their sensors showed 1 human ship had destroyed 3 of their vessels with a single shot, but they could not understand how. They are trying to scan us, Yoonji reported from Tactical. Their sensors cannot figure out what kind of weapons we are using. The Dominion commander apparently decided that 1 lucky shot did not matter. The alien fleet continued its advance, energy weapons charging for another volley against Earth ships. Multiple energy signatures detected, Jin-Ho announced. They are targeting us directly now. Evasive maneuvers, Hyunwoo ordered. Yuri's hands moved over the ancient controls. The tenacity suddenly jerked to the left, pulling a turn that should have been impossible for a ship its size. The inertial dampener screamed in protest, but they held. Dominion energy beams passed through the space where the tenacity had been a moment before. How did we do that? Yuri asked, staring at her instruments. The computer says we just pulled 47 gravities. That should have killed us. My builders were very worried about enemy weapons, Bora explained. They built me to dodge things that had not been invented yet. Your modern ships are built for efficiency. I was built to survive. More Dominion ships turned their attention to the strange human vessel that refused to die. Energy beams lanced out from a dozen different directions. The tenacity twisted through space like a living thing, dodging some shots and taking others on its thick hull. When the energy beams hit, they burned against the armor but did not penetrate. Hull temperature rising, Sang-Ho reported from engineering. But we are well within safe limits. The ablative armor is doing its job. Do-hyun fired again, and again. Each shot from the railguns destroyed or crippled another Dominion ship. The tungsten rods moved so fast that the enemy had no time to react. Their sophisticated targeting computers could not track projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Their shields are useless, Do-hyun laughed. Energy shields cannot stop solid matter. It is like trying to stop a bullet with a flashlight. The Dominion fleet began to change tactics. Instead of elegant long-range combat, they started moving closer. Their ships were much larger than the tenacity. In close combat, they could ram the human ship or use their superior numbers to surround it. They are adapting, Yoonji warned. Multiple ships moving to intercept us. They want to box us in. Hyunwoo studied the tactical display. The Dominion ships were faster than the tenacity in straight-line speed, but the human ship could turn and dodge in ways that seemed impossible. Take us into the middle of their formation, he ordered. Sir? Yuri looked shocked. That would put us surrounded by enemy ships. Exactly. Do it. The tenacity dove toward the center of the Dominion fleet. Enemy ships moved to intercept, their energy weapons firing continuously. But in their eagerness to destroy the annoying human ship, they positioned themselves carelessly. Fire at will, Hyunwoo commanded. Do-hyun began firing the railguns as fast as they could cycle. At point-blank range, each shot destroyed at least 1 ship. Sometimes the tungsten rods passed through multiple targets. But the real surprise came when the Dominion ships tried to fire at the tenacity, while it was surrounded by their own vessels. Energy beams meant, for the human ship struck other Dominion vessels instead. In the confusion of close combat, the aliens began hitting their own ships. Their weapons, designed for long-range precision, became dangerous to use in the crowded battlefield. They are shooting each other, Jin-Ho reported with amazement. I am picking up damage reports from at least 6 Dominion ships hit by friendly fire. The tenacity continued its deadly dance through the enemy fleet. Its ancient weapons continued their work, and its impossible maneuvers confused the Dominion targeting systems. Sir, I am detecting something strange, Yoonji said. The Dominion ships are running low on energy. Their weapons are firing slower now. Hyunwoo realized what was happening. They expected a short battle. Their weapons are designed to destroy enemies quickly. They never planned for a long fight. Modern space battles typically lasted minutes. The side with better technology won quickly, and the losing side died quickly. But the tenacity was not dying quickly. It was forcing the Dominion fleet into a sustained engagement they were not prepared for. How much ammunition do we have? Hyunwoo asked. Tungsten rods for days, Do-hyun replied. These storage bays were designed to supply mining operations for months. We could fight for weeks without running out. Bora's image smiled. My creators planned for long voyages and dangerous work. They gave me enough supplies to operate independently for years. The weapons were just mining tools, but mining tools built by humans are very good at breaking things. The tide of battle was turning. Earth's modern fleet was still taking heavy losses, but they were no longer being massacred. The Dominion ships were confused, low on energy and taking damage from the relentless tenacity. Through the communications array, Jin-ho picked up angry voices from the Dominion command ship. They were speaking in their own language, but the translation software could pick out words like impossible and primitive and how. They do not understand what we are, Yoonji observed. Their sensors say we are using ancient technology, but ancient technology is not supposed to work this well. Because they think old means weak, Hyunwoo replied. They have never fought an enemy that built things to last forever. The largest Dominion ship, a dreadnought the size of a city, began moving toward the tenacity. Its weapons were different from the others, larger, more powerful, and clearly designed to destroy capital ships. Flagship approaching, Yuri reported. That thing could probably crack a moon in half. Hyunwoo looked at the massive enemy ship approaching them. This would be the real test. All of their success so far had been against smaller vessels. Could the tenacity survive against the Empire's most powerful warship? All hands prepare for heavy combat, he announced over the ship's intercom. We are about to find out just how paranoid our ancestors really were. The Dominion dreadnought was a monster. Hyunwoo had seen pictures of these ships before, but seeing one in person was different. It was 3 kilometers long and covered with weapon ports. Energy crackling around its hull suggested shields powerful enough to protect an entire planet. That thing has more firepower than our entire fleet, Do-hyun said, staring at the tactical readings. Its main cannon could probably destroy a space station with one shot. The dreadnought's weapons began charging. Energy readings spiked across all frequencies. Whatever they were preparing to fire, it was going to be devastating. Evasive maneuvers, Hyunwoo ordered. Yuri pushed the tenacity into a spiraling dive, but the massive enemy ship tracked their movement easily. When the dreadnought fired, it was not just one weapon. Dozens of energy beams lanced out from across its hull. The first beam struck the tenacity's forward armor. The impact lit up the view screen and sent shockwaves through the entire ship. Emergency lights flickered as power fluctuated. Direct hit on Section 7, Sang-ho reported from engineering. Hull breach and wait, no hull breach. The outer armor is gone, but the second layer is holding. More beams struck the ship. Each hit felt like being inside a bell when someone struck it with a hammer. The crew held onto their stations as the tenacity shuddered under the assault. Hull temperature critical in multiple sections, Taemin called out. But the ablative layers are working. They are burning away the heat before it can reach the inner hull. Hyunwoo watched the damage reports scroll across his screen. By all rights, they should be dead. The dreadnought's weapons were designed to destroy ships much larger than the tenacity. But somehow they were still alive. How are we still in one piece? He asked. Bora's holographic form flickered as ship's power fluctuated. My creators were very afraid of nuclear weapons. They built my armor to survive direct hits from fusion bombs. These energy weapons are powerful, but they are not nuclear explosions. Another volley struck the ship. This time, one of the beams found a weak spot and penetrated deeper into the hull. Reactor 3 is offline, Sang-ho announced. We have lost primary power to the forward weapons. Switching to Reactor 4, Taemin responded immediately. All systems back online. Do-hyun looked confused. We lost a reactor and nothing changed? Redundancy, Bor explained. Reactor 3 was not critical. I have 16 more reactors. I can lose most of them and still fight at full capacity. The dreadnought continued its attack, pouring energy into the small human ship. Each hit stripped away more armor, melted more hull plating, and knocked out more systems. But for every system that failed, a backup came online. Lost communications array 2, Jin-ho reported. Switching to array 3. Forward sensor cluster destroyed, Yoonji announced. Side sensors compensating. Weapon mount 5 is gone, Do-hyun added. Rerouting fire control to mount 6. The tenacity was being torn apart piece by piece, but it refused to die. Every critical system had multiple backups. Every weapon had alternatives. Every sensor had redundance. "This is incredible," Taman said, watching his engineering displays. "They built 3 complete ships inside one hull. We are losing the outer ship, but the middle ship is still fine." The Dreadnought's commander apparently grew frustrated with the human ship's refusal to explode. The massive vessel began moving closer, bringing its heaviest weapons to bear. "They are approaching to point-blank range," Yuri warned. "At this distance, they cannot miss." "At this distance, neither can we," Hyunwoo replied. "Do Hyun, target their main weapons." The Tenacity's railguns fired at the approaching Dreadnought. The tungsten rod struck the massive ship's hull, but its armor was much thicker than the smaller vessels they had been fighting. "We are making holes, but not deep enough," Do Hyun reported. "Their armor is too thick for standard penetrators." "Switch to mining charges," Taemin suggested. "The ship carries explosive penetrators for breaking up large asteroids." Do Hyun's eyes lit up. "Now we are talking." The next volley from the Tenacity carried a different payload. Instead of solid tungsten rods, the railguns fired explosive penetrators. These projectiles were designed to punch through asteroid rock and then explode inside. The first explosive penetrator struck the Dreadnought's hull and buried itself deep in the armor before detonating. The explosion blew out a section of hull 20 meters across. "Direct hit on their forward weapons array," Yoonji reported. "Significant damage detected." The Dreadnought's return fire was noticeably weaker. Some of its main guns had been destroyed, but it still had enough firepower to continue battering the Tenacity. "Hull breach in Section 12, Sujin announced from medical. Emergency bulkheads are holding, but we have injured crew members." "How many?" Hyunwoo asked. 3 injured, none critical." The ship's internal armor protected them from the worst of it. Even inside the ship, the builders had installed protective barriers. The crew compartments were armored separately from the outer hull. A hit that destroyed the outside of the ship might still leave the crew areas intact. The battle continued for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. The Dreadnought kept firing and the Tenacity kept shooting back. Piece by piece, both ships were being destroyed. "Sir, we have a problem," Sang-ho called from engineering. "We are down to our last 3 reactors. If we lose 2 more, we will not have enough power for weapons and engines." At the same time, the Dreadnought was showing signs of damage. Its return fire was sporadic now, and several sections of its hull were venting atmosphere. "Their shields are failing," Yoonji observed. "Power levels dropping across their entire ship." Hyunwoo realized what was happening. The Dreadnought was designed to deliver massive damage quickly and then withdraw. It was not built for sustained combat against an enemy that refused to die. "They are running out of energy," he said. "Their weapons are too powerful. They cannot maintain this rate of fire." The Tenacity, meanwhile, had been built for long-term operations. Its reactors were designed to run for years without maintenance. Its weapons were built to operate continuously during extended mining operations. "We can outlast them," Boris said with satisfaction. "My creators built me to work in deep space for decades." This Dreadnought was built to win battles in minutes. The Dreadnought's fire slackened further. Its main weapons went silent, leaving only secondary guns to continue the attack. "They are trying to disengage," Yuri reported. "The big ship is pulling back." "Do not let them go," Hyunwoo ordered. "Full power to engines. Stay with them." The Tenacity pursued the withdrawing Dreadnought, its remaining weapons continuing to fire. The explosive penetrators found more targets as the enemy ship's shields failed completely, but the Dreadnought had one last trick. As it retreated, it began charging a weapon that the Tenacity's sensors had not detected before. "Massive energy buildup detected," Yoonji warned. "Something big is coming." The Dreadnought's main cannon, larger than any weapon the Tenacity had faced, began to glow with gathered energy. This was not a normal ship weapon. This was something designed to destroy space stations or crack the surface of planets. "They are preparing to fire their planet killer," Bora said, her voice tight with concern. "That weapon will destroy us completely regardless of armor." Hyunwoo had seconds to make a decision. They could try to run, but the Tenacity was too damaged to outrun a healthy Dreadnought. They could try to take cover behind debris, but there was nothing large enough in the immediate area. Or they could do something completely insane. "Yuri, plot a ramming course. Maximum acceleration." "Sir?" Yuri's voice cracked. "You want to ram a ship 30 times our size? Sometimes the best defense is a good offense." "Do it." The Tenacity turned toward the charging Dreadnought and accelerated as fast as its damaged engines could manage. It was going to be a race between the enemy's planet-killer weapon and the human ship's suicidal charge. The Tenacity accelerated toward the massive dreadnought like a spear thrown at a mountain. The enemy ship's planet-killer weapon continued charging, energy readings climbing to levels that made the ship's sensors scream warnings. 10 seconds to impact, Yuri announced, her voice steady despite the insanity of what they were doing. 8 seconds until their main gun fires, Yunji added. It was going to be close. Too close. The dreadnought's weapon reached full charge just as the Tenacity closed the final distance. A beam of energy capable of melting continents erupted from the massive cannon, aimed directly at the approaching human ship. But Hyunwoo had timed their approach perfectly. The Tenacity was so close now that the dreadnought could not depress its main gun low enough to hit them. The planet-killer beam passed harmlessly over the small ship and struck empty space. Impact in 3, 2, 1. The Tenacity's reinforced bow, originally designed to push through asteroid fields and space debris, struck the dreadnought's hull like a massive bullet. The human ship was tiny compared to the alien dreadnought, but it was moving at tremendous speed and built like a battering ram. The collision should have destroyed the Tenacity instantly. Instead, the ship's bow punched through the dreadnought's armor and buried itself deep in the larger vessel's hull. The two ships locked together, spinning through space in a deadly embrace. "We are inside their ship," Taman reported in amazement. "Our bow is completely embedded in their hull. We are stuck together." Emergency lights flickered throughout the Tenacity as damage reports flooded in. The collision had been devastating, but somehow the ship was still intact. "Reactor status?" Hyunwoo asked. "We are down to 2 reactors," Sang-ho replied, "but they are stable. We have enough power for basic systems, weapons." "Forward guns are gone," Do-hyun said, "but the side-mounted railguns are still operational." The dreadnought was in much worse shape. The Tenacity had punched through multiple decks, destroying critical systems throughout the massive ship. Atmosphere vented from dozens of breaches and secondary explosions rippled through its hull. "Their main reactor is failing," Yunji observed. "Power levels dropping rapidly across their entire ship." Through the communications array, Jin-ho picked up frantic messages from the dreadnought. The alien crew was abandoning ship, fleeing in escape pods before their reactor went critical. "Sir, we need to get out of here," Yuri warned. "If that reactor explodes, it will take us with it." But the ships were locked together too tightly. The collision had welded them into a single dying mass of metal. "Engines at full power," Hyunwoo ordered. "Try to break us free." The Tenacity's remaining engines fired, straining to pull the ship away from the doomed dreadnought. But the alien ship was too massive and they were stuck too deeply. "It is not working," Yuri reported. "We cannot break free." Across the rest of the battlefield, something unexpected was happening. Word of the impossible battle was spreading throughout the galaxy. The Dominion Empire had never lost a fleet engagement in 3,000 years. They had never even lost a single dreadnought. But here, a primitive human ship had just destroyed their most powerful vessel. On dozens of worlds conquered by the Empire, resistance groups were monitoring the battle. For the first time in centuries, they were seeing the Empire's ships destroyed instead of doing the destroying. "Sir, I am picking up transmissions from across the galaxy," Jin-ho reported. "Resistance cells on Kepler 442, Wolf 359, Gliese 667. They are all watching this battle." The remaining Dominion ships were also watching. Their fleet had started with over 500 vessels. Now less than half remained operational. Many had been destroyed by the Tenacity's impossible weapons. Others had been damaged by friendly fire during the chaotic close-range combat. "The enemy fleet is in disarray," Yunji observed. "They have lost their command ship and their admiral. The remaining ships do not know what to do. Some Dominion ships were trying to continue the attack on Earth's fleet. Others were moving to rescue survivors from their destroyed flagship. A few were actually retreating, unwilling to face the mysterious human ship that refused to die." "They are afraid," Bora said with satisfaction. "For 3,000 years they have been the hunters. Now they know what it feels like to be prey." The dreadnought's reactor finally reached critical failure. Alarms blared throughout both ships as energy readings spiked beyond measurement. "Reactor breach imminent," Taman announced. "We have maybe 30 seconds. Hyunwoo looked around the bridge at his crew. They had done the impossible. They had proven that human engineering could defeat the galaxy's greatest military power. If they died now, they would die as heroes. But Sang-ho had other ideas. Captain, I have an idea, the chief engineer called from his station. What if we do not try to get away from the explosion? What if we use it? What do you mean? The mining charges in our forward holds. If we detonate them at the same time as their reactor explodes, we might be able to direct the blast. Turn the explosion into a weapon. It was completely insane. It was also completely human. Do it, Hyunwoo ordered. Sang-ho's hands flew over his controls, programming the mining charges for simultaneous detonation. These explosives were designed to crack apart asteroids, but in sufficient quantity, they could do much more. Charges armed, he reported. Detonation in 10 seconds. All hands brace for impact, Hyunwoo announced over the ship's intercom. The explosions came simultaneously. The Dreadnought's reactor went critical at the exact moment that the Tenacity's mining charges detonated. The combined blast was visible from Earth's surface, a new star that flared to life and then faded in the space of heartbeats. When the light cleared, the Dreadnought was gone. Completely vaporized by the massive explosion, the Tenacity was still there. The ship looked like it had been through a war, which it had. Half its hull was melted or torn away. Most of its weapons were gone. Only one reactor was still functioning, but it was alive. And more importantly, so was its crew. Damage report, Hyunwoo called out. We are barely holding together, Taemin replied. But we are holding together. The innermost hull is intact. Life support is stable. We can still fight. Do-hyun checked his weapons. I have one operational railgun left. And about a dozen tungsten rods. It was not much. But across the battlefield, the remaining Dominion ships were learning that it did not take much. Their invincible fleet had been broken by a single human ship that refused to follow the rules of modern warfare. The enemy ships began to retreat. Some fled immediately, jumping to hyperspace as fast as their damaged engines could manage. Others tried to maintain formation, but their hearts were no longer in the fight. Earth's fleet, battered but not broken, began to pursue the fleeing aliens. For the first time in the battle, human ships were chasing Dominion vessels instead of running from them. Sir, we are receiving communications from Admiral Soo-jin, Jin-ho reported. She wants to know if we are still alive. Hyunwoo smiled. Tell her we are very much alive. And tell her that the Empire just learned something important about humanity. What is that, sir? We do not build things to barely work. We build them to survive the end of the world. And then we build them twice as strong as that. The tide of the battle had turned. The galaxy's greatest military power was retreating from a species they had dismissed as primitive. The Empire's 3,000-year winning streak was over, and it had been broken by a ship built by people who were too paranoid to trust that anything would work when they needed it most. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. News of the Dominion Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 conquered worlds, beings who had lived their entire lives under alien rule heard an impossible story. A single human ship had destroyed the Empire's greatest fleet. Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the barely functional Tenacity, reading reports from across human space. The ship limped back toward Earth on one reactor in sheer determination, but the crew's spirits were higher than they had ever been. Sir, we are receiving messages from everywhere, Jin-ho reported. Military commands, civilian governments, even deep space colonies. Everyone wants to know how we did it. What should I tell them? Hyunwoo asked. Bora's damaged hologram flickered into view. Her image was even more unstable now, but her voice was clear. Tell them the truth. We won because my creators were afraid of everything. The truth was simple, but it changed everything. Humanity had not won through superior technology or advanced tactics. They had won because 200 years ago, a group of paranoid engineers had built a ship to survive anything the universe could throw at it. The irony is beautiful, Taemin said, running diagnostics on their single remaining reactor. The Empire conquered the galaxy using elegant, efficient technology. They built ships that were perfect for their purpose. We won using a ship that was built by people who did not trust perfection. Earth's government immediately ordered the construction of more ships like the Tenacity, but they quickly discovered a problem. Nobody remembered how to build them. The techniques used to create the ship's ridiculous armor had been lost for generations. The industrial processes needed to manufacture its weapons no longer existed. We threw away everything that made the Tenacity special, Admiral Soo-jin explained during the debriefing. We called it wasteful, inefficient, outdated. We spent 2 centuries making our technology more elegant and more efficient. We never thought we might need the old ways again. But the galaxy had learned something about humanity that day. The Dominion Empire's retreat had not gone unnoticed. Within days, representatives from dozens of species were arriving at Earth, wanting to form alliances with the people who had done the impossible. They are not coming because they think we are the strongest, Hyun Woo observed. They are coming because they think we are the most stubborn. He was right. The galaxy had seen Earth's modern fleet get torn apart by superior technology. But they had also seen one ancient human ship refuse to die, no matter what was thrown at it. That sent a message that was more powerful than any weapon. Humans do not give up, said Ambassador Kethra of the Centauri Alliance during the first post-battle diplomatic meeting. This is valuable in an ally, but it is terrifying in an enemy. The Dominion Empire was learning that lesson firsthand. Their retreat from Earth had been disorganized and panicked. But once they regrouped, they began studying everything they could about human technology and tactics. They will be back, predicted General Voss Tern, the Empire's chief military strategist. But next time, we will be prepared for their primitive weapons and suicidal tactics. What the Empire did not understand was that the tenacity was not an example of human technology. It was an example of human psychology. The ship had not been built to fight aliens. It had been built by people who were afraid of their own neighbors. The Cold War 2.0 period was a time of extreme paranoia, explained Dr. Yoon Min-ho, Earth's leading expert on military history. Nations built weapons to fight enemies that did not exist yet, using threats that had not been invented. The tenacity was the ultimate expression of that fear, a ship built to survive anything, including things its creators could not imagine. This is what made humanity dangerous, not their current technology, but their willingness to prepare for threats that might never come. While other species built what they needed, humans built what they feared they might need. The Empire began encountering this philosophy across all of human space. When they attacked the colony on New Geneva, they found that the civilian population had been living in underground bunkers for 50 years, just in case someone attacked them. When they tried to blockade the industrial world of New Birmingham, they discovered that the humans had been stockpiling supplies for a siege that nobody expected. They are insane, reported Admiral Zethkor after his third failed attempt to conquer a human world. They prepare for disasters that have never happened. They build defenses against enemies that do not exist. They waste enormous resources on things they will probably never need. But the waste was the point. Humanity's greatest strength was not efficiency. It was redundancy. They built backup plans for their backup plans. They prepared for failure in ways that often prevented failure from happening. The tenacity itself became a symbol of this philosophy. The ship was repaired and refitted, but it remained deliberately old-fashioned. New weapons were built using the same over-engineered principles as the original railguns. New armor was layered using the same paranoid redundancy as the hull that had survived a dreadnought's attack. We are not building a fleet, explained Admiral Su Jin during a press conference. We are building a philosophy. Every ship will be designed to survive the impossible. Every weapon will be built to work when everything else fails. Every defense will be planned around the assumption that our enemies are smarter, stronger, and more advanced than we are. Other human colonies began adopting the same approach. New ships were built with ridiculous amounts of armor and weapons. Space stations were constructed with enough redundant systems to survive multiple catastrophic failures. Even civilian vessels carried enough supplies for months of unexpected delays. The galaxy watched this military buildup with fascination and growing concern. Humanity was not becoming more advanced. They were becoming more paranoid. But their paranoia was informed by experience now. They knew that somewhere in the galaxy, there were people with planet-killing weapons who wanted to conquer Earth. The Empire made a mistake, observed political analyst Chen Wei during a galactic news broadcast. They showed humanity what was possible. Now humans know that someone out there has weapons that can destroy worlds. They will spend the next century preparing for that threat. The Dominion Empire was indeed preparing for their return to human space. They were building new ships designed specifically to fight kinetic weapons. They were developing shields that could stop solid projectiles. They were training their crews for extended battles against enemies who refused to die quickly. but they were still thinking like an empire that had ruled unopposed for 3,000 years. They were preparing to fight the last war, not the next one. Humanity, meanwhile, was preparing for wars that had not been invented yet. They were building ships to fight enemies they had never seen, using tactics that had not been discovered, against threats that might not exist. On the bridge of the rebuilt Tenacity, Captain Hyunwoo read the latest intelligence reports about Empire ship movements. They would return eventually, probably within a few years. When they did, they would find a very different humanity waiting for them. "What are you thinking about, Captain?" asked Taemin, who had been promoted to chief engineer of the entire Terran defense fleet. "I'm thinking about my ancestors," Hyunwoo replied. "They built this ship because they were afraid of a war that never came. But they built it so well that it won a war they never imagined." Bora's hologram materialized beside them. The ship's AI had been upgraded with new projectors, but she chose to maintain her flickering, unstable appearance. It had become part of her identity. "My creators would be proud," she said. "They built me to be ready for anything. But even they did not expect me to fight aliens from across the galaxy." "What do you think they would build if they knew about the Empire?" Hyunwoo asked. Bora's image smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both reassuring and terrifying. "Something that would make the Empire afraid to leave their home worlds." The war between humanity and the Dominion Empire was far from over. But the balance of power had shifted in ways that neither side fully understood yet. The Empire had revealed their strength, but humanity had revealed something more dangerous, their capacity to prepare for anything. In shipyards across human space, new vessels were taking shape. Ships built by people who now knew that the galaxy contained threats beyond their worst nightmares. Ships designed by engineers who had learned the most important lesson of the Tenacity. It is better to build something too strong than to build something strong enough. The Empire would return. And when they did, they would learn what happened when humanity had time to prepare for a threat they knew was coming. They would learn that paranoia, properly applied, was humanity's greatest weapon.